You ever felt the sting of someone you care about pulling away, leaving you wondering where it all went wrong? It's a painful experience, isn't it? One that leaves you questioning your worth, your actions, and even your identity. Kind of experience that keeps you up at night, replaying every moment, trying to find out what you could have done differently. Today, we're going to dive deep into something that most of us have faced at some point in our lives, dealing with someone distancing themselves and the pain that comes with it. But this isn't just about navigating that heartbreak. It's about transforming that pain into power, using timeless Stoic wisdom. You see, I've been there too. I remember the days when I couldn't understand why someone I cared about started ignoring me. I'd replay every conversation, scrutinize every action, and in the end, I was left with more questions than answers. I'm sure many of you can relate to that feeling of helplessness, where you're grasping at straws, trying to make sense of it all. It's a cycle that can be all-consuming, making you question not just the relationship, but your very self-worth. Stoicism taught me that pain is inevitable. It's a part of life, part of being human. But how we respond to it is what truly defines us. Pain, after all, is just a signal that something requires our attention. Teacher in disguise, pushing us toward growth, even when it feels like it's pulling us under. Today, I want to share 7 powerful strategies rooted in Stoic philosophy that help me turn my own pain into a journey of self-improvement. But before we dive into these strategies, let's start with a fundamental Stoic insight: the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. This is where true power lies. In life, we can only control our own actions, our thoughts, and our responses. Everything else, other people's actions, feelings, and decisions, are outside our control. Once you internalize this, you begin to find peace. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most difficult concepts to truly live by, especially when your heart is involved. Think about it. How often do we waste energy trying to change someone else's mind, or trying to force an outcome that just isn't in our hands? It's exhausting, and more often than not, it leads to frustration and deeper pain. Let's talk about relationships. They're complex, aren't they? Full of highs and lows, of joy and sorrow. When someone begins to pull away, our first instinct is often to try harder, to give more of ourselves in the hope of rekindling what's fading. But here's the thing. Often, the more we give, the more we lose. Relationships are like a delicate dance. Each partner needs to find their rhythm. But when you start stepping on toes, trying to lead when it's not your turn, the dance becomes chaotic. This is a common misconception in love, the idea that by giving more, we can secure love. But in reality, overgiving can lead to losing ourselves, and with it, our personal magnetism. It's a paradox, really. We think that by pouring more of ourselves into someone else, we're solidifying the bond, when in fact, we might be eroding the very foundation of attraction. People are drawn to confidence, to individuals who know their worth and aren't afraid to stand by it. When we overgive, we inadvertently send the message that we don't value ourselves enough, and that can be a huge turnoff. So what do we do instead? How do we handle this? Well, let me share 3 key strategies that have made all the difference. These aren't quick fixes. They're principles to live by, guiding lights in the often murky waters of relationships. First, avoid neediness. Neediness is a repellent. The more you show desperation or complain about not getting attention, the more you push the other person away. Instead, act as if it doesn't affect you. Not as a game, but as a way to preserve your dignity and self-respect. When someone senses that you're desperate, it shifts the dynamic. They start to feel pressured, and pressure rarely breeds love. It breeds obligation, or worse, resentment. Think about it. How attractive is someone who's constantly chasing, constantly seeking validation? Not very, right? Second, focus on yourself. Reignite your passion for your own life, your goals, your interests, your well-being. This not only takes your mind off the situation, but also demonstrates your independence, which is incredibly attractive. People are drawn to those who have a sense of purpose, who are engaged in their own lives. When you focus on yourself, you're sending a powerful message. I'm enough on my own. I don't need you to complete me. I'd just like to share my life with you. That shift in perspective can change everything. And third, moderate your affection. Love should be a steady, balanced flow, not a flood. By spreading your love evenly, you avoid suffocating your partner and maintain that essential spark of attraction. Love is like water. It's life-giving, but too much can drown. When you pour all your love into one person, especially early on, it can feel overwhelming. It can make them feel trapped or responsible for your happiness. And that's not fair to either of you. Maintaining balance is crucial. In any relationship, you should never sacrifice your personal identity and interests. When you equate love with dependency, you lose the essence of who you are. And when you lose yourself, the relationship becomes unbalanced. It starts to lean on one person, and eventually that weight becomes too much for anyone to bear. A healthy relationship is one where both people stand on their own, strong and secure, coming together as equal. Stoicism also teaches the importance of emotional independence. Self-care and self-love are not just buzzwords. They're the foundation of healthy, lasting relationships. When you take care of yourself, you're not only more resilient, you also become a better partner. Think about it. How can you be a source of strength for someone else if you're constantly running on empty? By prioritizing your own well-being, you ensure that you're in a position to give and receive love in a way that's sustainable and fulfilling for both of you. It's also important to recognize and address any emotional wounds from the past. These wounds can cause us to repeat unhealthy patterns in relationships. But by confronting them head-on, we can break free from these cycles. Often we carry scars from past relationships into new ones, unconsciously reacting to triggers that have nothing to do with the current situation. By healing these wounds, we're able to approach new relationships with a clean slate, without the baggage that can so easily weigh us down. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a choice to focus on self-improvement, to grow from our pain, and to build healthier, more balanced relationships in the future. We can choose to be defined by our pain, letting it dictate our actions and reaction. Or we can choose to use it as a catalyst for growth, transforming it into something powerful. The choice is ours. Now, let's talk a little more about that balance. Balance is everything in life, not just in relationships. We're often taught that we need to put others first, that sacrificing for those we love is the highest form of devotion. But there's a fine line between healthy sacrifice and losing ourselves in the process. Stoicism teaches us that moderation in all things is key. It's not about withholding love or being selfish. It's about ensuring that your cup is full before you pour into someone else's. Take a moment to think about your own life. Are there areas where you've sacrificed too much? Where you've given so much of yourself that there's little left for your own joy, your own peace? It's a tough question, but an important one. The truth is, when we neglect our own needs, we're not truly giving to others. We're depleting ourselves, and that depletion eventually leads to resentment, burnout, and even the breakdown of relationships. One of the most powerful things I've learned from Stoicism is the concept of amor fati. Loving one's fate. It means embracing everything that happens to us, the good and the bad, as necessary parts of our journey. When someone distances themselves from you, it's easy to feel like a victim, see it as something happening to you. But what if we looked at it differently? What if we saw it as something happening for us? A chance to grow, to reassess, and to realign with our true selves. Journaling is a powerful tool in this process. It allows us to step back, to reflect on our experiences without judgment, and to gain clarity. When you put your thoughts on paper, you can see patterns, recognize triggers, and understand where your emotions are coming from. It's a way of connecting with yourself on a deeper level, of understanding what you truly need and want from your relationships. Another essential Stoic practice is the idea of memento mori. Remembering that we are mortal, that life is fleeting. It sounds morbid, but it's actually incredibly liberating. It reminds us not to waste our time on things that don't matter, not to hold on to relationships that drain us, and not to chase after people who don't value us. Life is too short to spend it in the pursuit of someone else's approval. Instead, focus on what brings you joy, on what makes you feel alive. When you embrace the idea of memento mori, you start to live differently. You prioritize what truly matters. You stop sweating the small stuff, and you focus on building a life that's meaningful to you. And when you do that, when you're truly happy with yourself and your life, you attract people who are drawn to that light. People who see your value and want to be a part of your journey, not because they complete you, but because they complement the life you've built. So what's next? It's time to take action. Reflect on what you've heard today and think about how you can apply these principles to your own life. Start with the basics, remembering what you can control, focusing on your own growth, and maintaining balance in your relationships. From there, embrace the deeper practices: self-love, healing past wounds, and embracing your mortality as a way to live full. Life is full of ups and downs, but how we navigate those challenges defines us. By adopting a Stoic approach, you can turn pain into power, creating a life that's not just about surviving, but thriving. So the next time someone distances themselves, don't see it as a loss. See it as an opportunity, a chance to grow, to reflect, and to become even stronger. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. Remember, you are not alone, and there is always a way forward, even in the darkest of times.